Hey, it's Sandy, and I'm back with my Bee Paper Stipple Texture Pad. And for those who keep asking, it's 132 pounds, so that's the weight of the paper itself. Very similar-ish to a lot of different cardstocks, but it's not super heavy. The first drawing that I did in my previous video is this one, and basically I drew the outlines as per John Muir laws with a micron pen, and even the lines in the middle, the veins and everything, and then filled it in with the black colored pencil. Graphite pencil did not work on this, so the black colored pencil worked quite nicely, and I wanted to try something in color. But before I did, I wanted to see how colors mix on this paper. And a chart like this, I think, is one of the best ways that you can start understanding color theory better with colored pencils, no matter what paper you're using. So I recommend you make one of these. So let's talk about why. Being an instructor means that I hear from a lot of people about the things that confuse them, the things that I say in videos here on YouTube or in my classes that don't make sense. And a lot of people say things like, well, how do I know which color to choose when I want to do something or other? And with a lot of my classes, when I first began, I actually did a lot of putting the color numbers and color names on screen so that you could see exactly which color that I'm using. But I realized after a while that wasn't teaching people very much, because what I want you to do is to be able to know how to choose the colors that are going to work for you. This particular color chart is one that I think would help a whole lot. So I'm going to speed this up because there's a long way to go. And I recommend making a chart like this with colors like these. And let me explain. I will have the color chart numbers over on my blog because I'll do a color conversion to a couple different brands, but you can kind of see what the colors are that you need. First, you'll make stripes of them across. I made mine in 1/2-inch blocks and did the 6 colors going across. So I marked them down the left-hand side. A light and a medium yellow, a light and a medium pink, and a light and a medium blue. And you'll notice that those are variations of yellow, red, and blue. Those are primaries. And then I went downward in the column. And this is a kind of color chart that watercolorists have been doing a long time. Some people might do these with colored pencils as well. But with this specifically, there's another little bit that I've added to this chart that I'm going to want you to pay attention to. Now you can see how each color layers over top of each other color. Pencils can be transparent or they can be opaque. And depending on which color you put down first, you may find something different. So in this chart, you'll be able to see one place where a color pairing has, the darker color on the bottom or the darker color on top. And you can see what that does to the color mixture. I recommend having just a very consistent application of the color, consistent in terms of how much you fill in, how hard you press. Just be as consistent as possible across the whole thing. And one thing you'll end up with is the diagonal blocks that go from the upper left corner down to the bottom right will be double thickness of the main color, whatever the color is you're choosing, simply because on the top of the grid and the left of the grid, you have the same color. And then all the others are various mixtures of them. You can do this with all different kinds of colors to find out how things will mix, how they'll layer. I happen to be doing this on the stipple paper because I have a drawing I'll show you at the end that I'm going to be doing, and I wanted to see if I could do them in these colors. And in order to test that out before getting into the whole drawing, I decided to just make a chart like this. Now I'm also going to make neutrals here. And I'm just doing this off the right-hand corner because what I want to do is put 3 colors together. You may have heard me, when I talk about color theory, talk about how red, yellow, and blue together make neutrals. So I'm going to start with just the blue in both the light and the medium color. And I'm going to make something that's a little graduated. That means it's going to fade out to white because as I build neutrals using these colors, I want to also be able to build a variation in value in the same neutral and just see what it looks like, because every color combination is going to be a little bit different. Now, this is a little bit harder to make a consistent pressure for yourself with the pencils, and that's a given, just because that's how it is when you're doing something that you're not trying to be really consistent and that sort of thing with. But I think it's still going to be helpful to do this exercise. And so I've got the medium blue and the light blue with that graduated tone. And then I'm going to start going in with the pink and the yellow on both pairings. So on one of them, I'm going to pick the lighter colors, and on the other, I'm going to pick the darker. Now you can also do another one, little swatch with a light and a medium. So you can do the light yellow and the medium pink along with it and see what that looks like. But I'm not going to get into that at this point. I think it's enough to just do two of them. But here I'm looking at what the light yellow and the light pink look like mixed with the blue. Now, when you get them on, if the colors are all even, so you get absolutely the same amount, which is, almost impossible to do with your hand physically, but if you can get about the same amount with both, with all three colors, then you should end up with a brown or a gray of some kind. Now, you might not if you use too powerful a color, and that's why I'm not recommending doing this with dark colors necessarily. Doing it with a medium and a light is going to teach you more, because what you want to start taking note of is what makes something go gray and what is it that makes it go brown. And you can go back into it and add one of the colors that you feel is maybe missing. If it starts looking too purplish and it has a definite purple cast to it, then that means you have plenty of the pink and the blue in it, and you might need just a tinge of yellow. If it's too orange, then you have the yellow and the pink, so you might need some blue. And on and on. Just, keep to those three colors and see how you can push that block. And can you get it to be a graduated tone so you get darker on one end and lighter on the other. Now I'm working on this stipple paper, and this stipple paper does not get solid. So there's no way to get a really dark, and I'll show you what that looks like in an actual project in a few minutes. But here I'm just trying to see what the colors are going to mix like, because if I'm going to create a piece in color on this paper, I need to know a little bit more about how it's going to work. So I did do a little test drawing on this paper in color as well as these swatch blocks. Now, I'm not a huge believer in swatch charts. That's just not my jam, because I find a lot of people get lost in just making a lot of charts and then trying to look at the chart and say, what do I learn from it? But these little blocks that I'm working on right now will hopefully help you to start thinking through how to choose colors on whatever project you're working on. Say you're working on a tiger. You're drawing a tiger and the orangey color that's on the tiger is just too bright. It's like a pure orange pencil and you want to tamp that color down. Well, think about the exercise of working on these colors. If it's too orangey, then that means it's got a lot of yellow and a lot of pink in it. So what would you add to an orange that's got too much vibrance to it? You could add some blue, or you could even add some purple or something in that kind of color family that will start to just tamp down the brightness of that orange. And that kind of thing is intuitive knowledge that over time you can gain as you work on your art when you're trying to find the right colors and trying to build them up. Now, I tried doing a drawing in color on the stipple paper, and it did not go all that great. And I mean, I could get some nice blends and that sort of thing with it. And this is using the same colors that I used in the chart. And I just wanted to see what it would be like doing it in context of a drawing. That's why I am not a big fan of charts, because when you're making art, you're not just drawing little boxes, you're drawing things. And it's different trying to draw things and trying to figure out how to make them work. I was trying to see what I could do for neutrals on the elephant's skin tones and to see if I could make them go gray. And I was successful in that, but I didn't get much in terms of contrast. I did outline the drawing in micron pen, but I would have had to do a lot more of that in order to create some real darks in there. So I decided I would just see what would happen, how would it look if I worked on something with a black pencil, because that's what worked when I did the leaves. And it worked okay, but it felt at the end a little bit on the flat side. And I did have to have more line work in here to hold it together. And there's just some things in here that weren't working great. So before I do my next piece, what I really want to do is explore some colors on this paper. So that project is not ready for filming a video of yet. But what is completed and will be ready on Tuesday, if you come back to my channel, is going to be the release of a snack class in coloring this little guy. In the class, you'll be provided with the sketch so you can trace it onto whatever paper you're going to be using. And it's not going to be taught on this stipple paper because I wasn't satisfied with this in the stipple paper. So I did draw it on Stonehenge when I filmed it just now. It's just not all edited, but by Tuesday, that'll be all ready. And then maybe I'll be talking about the colors that I'm going to be using on the big drawing that I'm planning. So if you want to prepare yourself, then get yourself the 6 pencils from your stash. You can get something similar or use these. They're listed on my blog. Make yourself that color chart to practice with. And then this is going to be the little guy done for the snack class. I haven't decided what it's going to be called. If you have any good names for it, let me know, because I need to come up with something as I start preparing that. But this is the drawing that I'm working on that I want to do on the stipple paper. This is being drawn on the stipple paper with the pen. But I need to figure out what kinds of colors are going to give me the kind of depth that I want and the kind of intensity, but also the kind of lightness, because I don't want to just choose gray and brown pencils to draw this one. I want something with more life to it. And I need to see what's going to work on this paper because it works very differently than anything else I've had. So wish me luck in figuring that out. Just going to be sitting there making little swatches of color for I don't know how long until I figure out what colors these will be. But my hope is to get this one out as a video on the Saturday before Mother's Day. So another week I have to get this finished in honor of my mom. She passed last year, and I've done a couple drawings now with mama and baby animals of various kinds. She always wanted me to draw more animals. So this will be one colored in honor of her. And we'll see if it's going to be on stipple paper or if I'm going to use something else. I really hope it'll be on the stipple paper because it took me hours just to get the line drawing done. So wish me luck. And I will see you on Tuesday with the little baby elephant and whatever progress I've got going on this drawing. So leave me a comment in the doobly-doo and let me know what you think that class should be called. And I will see you Tuesday. Take care. I will see you later. Bye.